Mother speaks.
I am Great Mother, Holy Spirit, Yin, Divine Mother, Cosmic Womb, Deep Space, the Moon, Dark Matter, the Void, the Black Hole, Atar.
Hi, welcome to Great Mother Speaks. I'm Tammy Taylor, inner work life coach and inventor of the Great Mother Speaks Oracle deck. I want to talk to you a little bit about this Virgo Libra full moon. It is a super moon occurring on the 20th. It's a build up. It's a huge build up. If you remember the new moon, Great Mother came through and she said that it was balsamic moon energy, and to kind of sit on that energy, let what needs to be downloaded, the opportunity to be downloaded for this entire lunar cycle, including this full moon, which is climatic in the Great Mother Speaks Oracle deck. Great Mother is not limited or confined to human convention. And we have some very ancient traditions that say every new moon is a new seed. However, based on the astrology, the energies are shifting so that this transition into what is traditionally a new year is really more than that. It's a new phase of regrounded soul inscription on the planet. It's really that deep. Now, those of you who may not know, Great Mother is the Holy Spirit, the still small voice, our intuition, the part of us, that yin energy, that primal yin energy that is spirit, and it is soul as we know it vibrationally from this ego body. We use the Vedic astrology here with Great Mother Speaks and in the Great Mother Speaks Oracle deck that uses chakras to align with that soul energy. And so that's why it is indeed a Virgo Libra moon. It's Virgo in the sidereal, in the nakshatra of Uttara Falguni, which is about relationships, which is about connecting, which is about devotion, a very devotional energy to a fault, in fact. But the Libra energy is what I want you to really be aware of at this particular time, as in the Western astrology, this ancient tradition through that astrology has to do with the seeding. I want you to get something really straight about this. And it's really important because in that new moon reading, I also said that moving forward with these readings, I'm going to be more specific with regard to your lunar sign and where it is in terms of its healing of mama drama trauma, which is a condition in which the mother projects unhealed aspects of herself onto her child, causing emotional and or physical trauma in cases where she's unable, unavailable, unwilling to heal her own MDT, because it is a cycle. Loving detachment is required, and that is my area of specialization. I am an inner life coach that works with these inner emotional issues to release the emotions of shame, blame, and guilt, which perpetuate this cycle. This is actually conditioned to and through us as we incubate in our mother's womb and as she raises us with the same type of conditioning framework of MDT. To let you know how this deck came about through my inner work, I could not sustain clientele based on my own personal story of healing MDT. I had to get in touch with Great Mother and ask for a tool to assist people coming from various backgrounds and various experiences with mama drama trauma. You want to know more about it? Look at the links below, the definitions of MDT, the telltale signs of MDT, to see whether or not you have it. But for those of you who are subscribers and that have been working with me over a period of time, you know that this emotional energy is what has to be released, because that is what is associated with the mother and how we regard our relationship with our mother, as opposed to understanding it's a soul relationship. In the soul astrology, we have just left the Cancer North Node, Capricorn South Node, and now we're in Sagittarius South Node, Gemini North Node. That means for the prior 2.5 years on a soul level, the planet has been addressing issues of our old way of developing our maternal relationships. Our maternal relationships have to do with our feelings of belonging. And specifically here, what Great Mother is speaking to us about is not only just the home or with the mother, but it has to do with, from that conditioning, that maternal conditioning, how we develop our boundaries in our relationships. And boundaries are important because they let ourselves, first and foremost, be clear about who we are, what's important to us, what's okay, what's not okay, what we like, what we don't like, so that we can communicate those things clearly to others. When we don't communicate those things clearly to others, people don't trust us, and we don't trust ourselves to make good decisions. So it's really important that those boundaries are associated with an understanding of what those original maternal relationships are about. That feeling like you belong. Now, if you don't feel like you belong, and you know that you have mama drama trauma, that's where Great Mother comes in, because it's not about the emotional connection to our birth mother that connects us to the healing process of releasing shame, blame, and guilt. It's connecting to Great Mother, the mother of all mothers, that yin energy within. So you'll see that through your Vedic sign, which is always mentioned before your Western sign, in 24 degrees in precession to it, in fact, that is where your soul is downloading information from energetically. So for example, on this full moon, energetically, we are all, through the collective consciousness, getting downloads from Virgo energy. This energy that's reorganizing, that's specifying, that's inquiring about exactly what is going on with regard to what we're committing ourselves to, what we feel is worthy of our devotion, and what we want to work towards in terms of our responsibilities, in terms of our accountability, what it is in life that is worth our being accountable for and being accountable to. And typically, for most human beings, it is in our relationships to one another. What keeps us committed, what keeps us grounded, what keeps us responsible is that we like it. It means something to us. It's not just okay, it's something that feels good. It all goes back to boundaries, feeling whether or not we belong, feeling that on a soul level we're sharing our gifts, talents, and abilities, that healing energy of Virgo, the daily life of Virgo, working that out with the 3Ds, disputes, debts, okay, and diseases, how we're balancing our health with regard to living according to this soul wisdom. This full moon is coming to a climax. And emotionally, downloading that through the filter of Libra energy is bringing us right into how we're connecting with one another. I want to let you know that as we move forward with these readings, I'm going directly to the cards, to the signs and symbols. But that doesn't mean that the specifics and the astrology is any less important. These introductions are still quite important. However, I want you to know spiral spectrum is the hippest ephemeris on the planet, according to the Western astrology. But it's very colorful, and it allows you to go through each sign, through each cycle, through each transit that occurs in a way that is understanding to you and for you. As you can see, for the year 2019, I collaborated in creating the lunar phase of the definitions, the lunar portion of the definitions. And as you see here with the definition of Virgo, and for the definition of Libra. And so these are the energies that we're working with. These are the energies that we are bringing to the fore. If you're interested in learning more about how to work with the lunar energies, check out the link below. To purchase the calendar, simply go to greatmotherspeaks.info and scroll down to where you see the cosmic calendar to get your copy for this exciting remainder of 2019. As we continue with this year, Great Mother Father God will continue to activate this emerging cycle into releasing our old structures around our mother, around nurturing, around compassion, around feeling understood and feeling cared for. There's a restructuring of how this is working. And July 2nd, the total solar eclipse, and we're going to have another eclipse at the end of the year in December. These energies are going to really nourish what you're planting during this illustrious season of Virgo Libra. It's coming to climax, and so it's not necessarily seeding an intention in terms of a wish, but it's seeding conscious awareness of what you have downloaded thus far, so that the next full moon, as we move into that Aries new moon, you can culminate your wishes in a way that is respective to what you know. Now, for your Virgo, Libra, full moon readings. Hello, Scorpio, Sagittarius, moon sign people. Thank you for joining me for your reading. I'm going to start with your significator card. This is the card where Great Mother is suggesting for you to really focus on this lunar phase. And the full moon with Great Mother is all about climax. The climax focus for you is Rhiannon. There is a place of self-doubt as it directly relates to mama, drama, trauma. There's a sense of not really knowing whether or not you are responsible for the shame, blame, and the guilt that's being projected upon you for mama not being happy. You know the old adage, if mama's not happy, nobody's happy. Well, that is a lie. That is a lie, because we do get to choose how we feel, regardless of how we've been conditioned to believe we are responsible or accountable for the happiness of our mothers. Now, that is a responsibility that we are assigned at a very early age. In fact, many times before we're even conceived, we are assigned that particular duty. But with the soul contract of mama, drama, trauma, we are agreeing to work with this soul, our mother, to evolve in self-love and spiritual independence. And so that's what tells us that self-doubt is really playing on you. This is a second chakra, first quarter moon card. Second chakra is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is in your first house right now. And so you are already experiencing unexpected blessings and answers to prayers that you've had in unexpected ways. But there, at this particular time, is a sense of doubt because you're not making the connection between your emotional life and your physical life. Our emotional, intuitive life is the place from which all of our physical and our material experience comes from. What we think, what we feel, what we believe, what we focus on creates our experience. And we hear that all the time. But when we see a card like Rhiannon, you can really test it and ask yourself where you are with regard to the shame, blame, and guilt that perpetuates MDT. Where are you being made to feel guilty? Is it about your kids, how you're raising your kids, and it's being projected onto you as no, you're the bad mother? Now look at you. The blame and the shame about that. Ask yourself, where is this happening? See, a lot of times the MDT, it can be so regular and so mundane and so ordinary and so consistent and so persistent. Like Jan Levant says, consistent and persistent abuse renders us unconscious. After a while, it's just the way it is. But what Great Mother is suggesting to you is this full moon is bringing up emotions around that self-doubt, emotions around this first house energy where Jupiter is, in relationship to the 11th house energy, 111. How we think creates our existence, 111. 11th house energy of this full moon. 11th house energy are our professional relationships, our networks, our feelings of affinity and amenity towards other people, what we're willing to accommodate in order to cultivate relationships. Now remember, the nakshatra that this full moon is in Virgo, is Uttara Falguni, which is all about that. It's all about cultivating relationships in order to fulfill a specific goal, particularly as it pertains to marriage. Your 7th house is where Mars is right now. And so Mars being in Taurus, Gemini, is telling you that your contractual relationships, your soul contract with MDT is being brought up in powerful ways during this full moon. Why? It's being brought up because you're not, again, connecting the dots. You're not connecting the dots between your emotional, intuitive life and what's really happening in your life. The suppressed guilt, suppressed shame, suppressed blame that has become unconscious due to its persistence and consistency in your life is what's creating this experience of shame, blame, and guilt in your life as you're interacting with people professionally, your networks, social networks, for example, that kind of thing. Now, on the other hand, some of you are not aware that the reason that you're gaining things, that you are receiving physical blessings, money, is because of this. Is because of not connecting the dots between your emotional life and your material life. And so you could be receiving a lot of blessings because you're saying, hey, yeah, I'm working on these emotional things of shame, blame, and guilt, but that's not going to hold me back. I have boundaries. And so even though I'm still these negative things are still being projected onto me, every time I talk to my mother, I get this funny feeling, and I really get upset, or even when I'm talking to my daughter, because I've been so conditioned, I know areas where I'm perpetuating it. I'm working on it. I have a boundary. I'm not going to let this go further than it needs to go. I'm not perfect every time. Sometimes I still act just like mama, but I'm working on that, and I'm seeing how things are changing in my child's eyes when I'm reacting differently. You're getting blessed, those unexpected 11th house gains, and that's why you're getting them. And you may not realize it's a result of the work that you're doing. So either way it is for you, what's in your shadow position is Hecate, the crossroads. You are at a crossroads. You are actually at a point where you're exploring the temporary energy, the temporary frequency of relationships. You're not having to go in full ham, when you meet somebody, because you've learned the power of soul contracts, and you've learned that you can have relationships like Dorothy with the scarecrow, with the Tin Man, with the lion, and you on a relationships are for the moment, for a lifetime, or for what do they call it? Relationships are for a purpose, a lifetime, or for a season, whatever. They have their expiration date. And you're willing to explore romance. You're willing to explore your relationship with your child, with your mother, with a more open mind about it. And this is because your North Node is in the 8th house. Okay, and so the North Node right now on the sidereal is in Sagittarius. Okay, and I'm sorry, it's not in Sagittarius. The North Node is in Gemini, and the Western is in Cancer. The South Node is in Sagittarius, and the South Node is in Capricorn, which is your 2nd house energy. So you're letting go of a lot of old values, of a lot of old ways that you may have spent your emotional resources with people. Again, with those boundaries that you're establishing in order to move forward in a new, more productive way. Those of you who haven't quite gotten there yet, this is very beneficial with the North Node in Gemini Cancer, for that 8th house energy to rebirth you. And so we have another year or more of this nodal axis for you to work with that rebirthing process if you're not quite there yet with the 11th house gains and you're still experiencing some of those 11th house challenges. Now, what you emotionally want is to accept how you feel. You are ready to acknowledge where you are in your experience. And this is probably because you are in a phase of what is called Sati Sati. You're well into it. It's almost finished, but you're a little 6.5 years or more. If you think about your life over the last 6.5 years, there have been some very major changes in your life. There have been some deaths of loved ones, of jobs, of things that were very important to you or important to you with regard to how you identified yourself, how you thought of yourself. It will come to a close at the 7-year mark, so you have a little bit more or less 6 months of this depending on your chart, and you're coming out of that with a sense of this full moon energy that, hey, I know who I am. I know how I feel about this mama drama trauma. I trust my gut with regard to what is okay with me, what is not okay with me, what feels good, what doesn't feel good, with regard to these boundaries that I need to have in my life. I'm at a place where I want to live according to that. This Sati Sati has sat me down. Sati Sati is when Saturn enters the 12th house from your moon. And that happened when Saturn entered Libra in the sidereal, if you want to look back. And so now Saturn is in Sagittarius in the sidereal. So that's why you're almost done. It's a 7-year period. Saturn stays in a sign for 2.5 years. And so you're ready to live according to that true sense of self. But there's, of course, remnants of self-doubt that this full moon is bringing up in relationship to what those feelings are, to what those gut notions are as it relates to boundaries and you feeling at home in yourself, in your environs, particularly in your professional life, as it relates to replicating some of those MDT behaviors that you're realizing, hey, this isn't where I want to go. This isn't how I want to be. I want to be a different person. I've learned since this Sati Sati, Saturn has sat with me intuitively and has shared with me lessons that I'm ready to go forward with. And the energy that's supporting you to go forward is emancipation. This is balsamic moon energy. Emancipation is third eye energy. Third eye rules Cancer, and Cancer rules the moon. And so it's so appropriate for you to have emancipation of your emotions, to have the freedom to really feel what you feel. And although that's not foreign to you, what has been foreign to you is the awareness about where you are emotionally in real time. You've been in a real kind of holding pattern over these 6.5 years that has gradually been shifting because of the Sati Sati. And Great Mother is saying, embrace the shadow. Embrace those aspects of yourself that prior to this 6.5 years that you've been going through all this stuff, that you've been ashamed of, that you didn't want to admit, that you didn't want to admit the shame, blame, and guilt. You didn't want to do any of that stuff. But now you're ready to say, hey, this emotional life has directly impacted my physical life, and I have 6.5 years of experiences to prove it. I have 6.5 years of how I have reacted to situations to prove it. And now I'm ready to say, hey, this is how I feel. This is how I function. This is how I operate emotionally. And I'm willing to live in real time with it and work with where I do need boundaries and work with accepting where I don't. Either way, it's about self-acceptance. Get in touch at greatmotherspeaks.info to get support with processing shame, blame, and guilt emotions, particularly for you at this time, because the present status of your ego soul alignment is self-creation, the Ishel card, the Mayan goddess of the lunar cycles. This is second chakra energy. Again, you have Jupiter right here in your first house. And so you're receiving a lot of emotional and intuitive support this year until November, when Jupiter goes into Sagittarius Capricorn. So you want to take advantage of it. And at the very least, check out that cosmic calendar that is on Spiral Spectrum. this is the video below, the link below to get it, so that you start to really look. You can see visually in that calendar how the energies collide and conspire to support you. This waxing gibbous energy of Vishal is all about you are lining up, you're revising, you're editing how you are allowing your values to direct your life in real time, as opposed to staying stuck at a crossroads that you never quite choose a direction, emotional or intuitive. Well, it's not an either or, it's the integration of both, so that you can appreciate your soul contract. Emotionally, it's shame, blame, and guilt. But intuitively, it's being a divine child of the great Mother, Father, God, who's never judged, condemned, or left alone. We're dearly loved. And so we're both. We have this fate of MDT with a destiny of a life beyond it. So why your life wants to do this work of moving beyond the self-doubt, the shame, blame, and guilt, is because it's ready to let go of the victimhood of feeling like it's an orphan, feeling alone, feeling that others don't understand in my network, other people professionally, they just don't understand. That's projecting all of that blame, shame, and guilt onto people in your environment, and it ain't got nothing to do with that. That's your stuff to release, and you will release it if you haven't begun to do so already with this North Node in your 8th house. It's very powerful release energy in this Gemini Cancer placement. Again, emotionally, Cancer is releasing that old sense of how you related to your mother. And the soul sense of releasing what you thought you knew about how to express yourself with that Gemini North Node in your 8th house. How your soul wants to do this work is through this rebirthing process. Death to those old and rebirth into the new. What we just said. It wants to speak the truth. Okay, throat chakra, ruled by Mercury. It wants to, waning gibbous. It wants to share. It wants to give from this new place, from this 11th house energy. This full moon is going to bring up for you so much insight into how to be free from those old chains, from those old ways of what you thought your relationship with your mother had to be. It's going to be unique for each and every one of you. That's why personal readings are so much more effective and so much more pinpoint, because some people discover that their mothers truly are willing, able, and available to heal. It's just a matter of connecting the dots for you personally, what death and rebirth means for you. I have no idea. I don't see your charts, but I do know that for your moon sign, death and rebirth is in your 8th house, and your 8th house is now housing the North Node, which is all about where your soul wants to go, and your soul wants to go in the direction of rebirth. And so that's how it wants to let go of this victimhood. Just like children of mama, drama, trauma, your mom's mom, we're assigned the responsibility for her happiness, for, her feeling good about herself and all of that kind of stuff. That's not our responsibility. And it's not anyone else's responsibility for us to assign to them our happiness. So wherever there are problems with social networks or with professional relationships and that sort of thing, people are not responsible for those emotional aspects of our life whatsoever. Ever, in any relationship, including mother and child. If mama's not happy, nobody's happy. That is a lie. We are in the age of moving into transition into Aquarius that is proving that is a lie. The age of the self-healer in order to heal the planet. So how can you be a self-healer if your healing is contingent upon someone else? Don't work like that. doing this work, the final outcome is Ishtar. So some of us are going to, with this full moon, oh gosh, Jupiter full moon, my gosh, your outcome is receiving this full moon light of actually living in alignment with what you want to share with the world, with how you truly want to engage your networks, and being intuitively and emotionally blessed, those unexpected gains of wisdom about how to be free. Now, all of us play the prostitute because we do live in a physical realm, right? And Jupiter is in Sagittarius in the Western astrology. And so, that's fine. But when we're talking chakras, we're talking Vedic astrology. And Jupiter, although it does rule Sagittarius in the Vedic, Jupiter is in Scorpio. And so on a soul level, you are downloading everything that you need to with regard to being free. Just breathe through it. Just trust it, as opposed to not trusting yourself, selling yourself out because of self-doubt. You've got the cosmic support to do the inner work of releasing that self-doubt and feelings of victimhood that the Saturn conjunction in the South Node is really helping you to do. It's helping you to release those old concepts of how your relationship with your mother needs to be and how others need to emotionally relate to you. That's being changed, and there's a new expression that's coming forward to you and from you as you move forward from the crossroads into freedom. Thank you so much for watching, sharing, and liking, but above all and most of all, enjoy your Virgo Libra full moon. Welcome its wisdom as it comes to you to support you. And above all and most of all, remember, Great Mother loves you, and I do too.
Great Mother speaks.
I am Great Mother, Holy Spirit, Yin, Divine Mother, Cosmic Womb, Deep Space, the Moon, Dark Matter, the Void, the Black Hole, Hathor, Isis, Diana, Mami Ishtar, Kali, Mammy, and Mother Mary.